welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm talking about the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. After using this camera for 6 months, specifically as a vlogger, I thought it was time to give a little bit of an update. So I wanted to come on here and share my thoughts, my tips, my tricks, my pros and cons, and let you know what's going on in my head. So let's get to it. If you want to see how I unboxed this creator combo DJI Osmo Pocket 3, I do have a video on that I already did. So go ahead and check out that video up here. This camera has been a game changer for me. I've been using it almost every single week. And I did make a little list, so don't judge me if I'm looking to the side and looking at you. But I got this list right here so I don't miss anything. The pros list is much longer than the cons, but I do think it's important to cover both angles. And this video is not sponsored. I brought this camera with my own money. Starting out with the biggest pro that I feel about using the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 is the portability of the camera. If you're someone who's on the move, likes to go to different events, and just wants to take it with you and maybe get some shots, get some fun times with your friends, or even if you're just hanging out, sitting at home and wanting to do a sit-down conversation video like this camera can definitely do it all. For this camera specifically, I've used it in many different static, many different walking shots, and it looks so good. The built-in stabilization of this camera is just unmatched for me and was an extreme upgrade for me. I was previously filming on a Canon G7X, and if you're an on-the-go girl like me or on-the-go guy, you'll definitely like this one. Another big pro for me as someone who does vlog is that I can pass this off to a friend or maybe someone who's just standing around, and if I want to ask them to take a picture of me or maybe hold it as a video, it's pretty self-explanatory of how to use this camera. I think that sometimes I try to do that with my rig, with the Canon, and you have the mic at the top, and I think initially it's a little bit intimidating. So I think that's definitely a plus for someone who is a vlogger. But even if you're solo vlogging and maybe you don't have anyone to hold something, I've seen a lot of people buy accessories for the Osmo Pocket 3 that allow you to put it stationary up against the wall, maybe stick it on a pole or something metal or steel that can film you as you're doing your day-to-day activities. I definitely think it's a very friendly camera for someone who films with friends or even solo and individual, and maybe you're using some additional accessories that are not made by DJI. I do want to, however, disclaim that I have never used any of these third-party accessories, so I can't speak to anything, but I have seen some pretty good magnets that I'm considering buying for a trip that I have coming up next year. So definitely something to take into consideration if you're looking for this camera. My next pro is probably the #1 pro that I have about this camera is how easy it is to transfer your footage from the device to your cell phone using the DJI app. Now, this might be a controversial opinion because I've seen some negative reviews about the DJI Mimo app, but listen, this app is so easy for me. I don't see a lot of people actually talk about it, especially if you're someone who is getting it specifically for social media content and maybe moving on the go, editing while you're traveling, and you want to get daily videos out. This to me is so perfect. All you have to do is connect your phone via Bluetooth directly to the device, and then you'll automatically be able to see every single video that has been shot to the camera. I did film a get ready with me earlier today, and as you can see, all of it is already in here. You can download it. I haven't seen any quality issues by doing this. Somebody else, maybe in the comment section you have, but to me personally, the quality is so good. I film in 4K or 3K if I'm filming vertically, and I've had no issues. And yeah, so even just utilizing the app to get a better shot if you're filming at a distance, it is so incredible. It is so important to be quick sometimes with social, and the app allows you to really do just that. However, that's not to say that the app is completely perfect. There are some things about the app that I do wish could be improved. I do think that the preview you're given on the phone is a little lower quality than what the camera actually films, which isn't a big deal. I have had some connectivity issues if I'm out in like a busy area. But that's all to say that I still think there are a lot of benefits to utilizing the app while you're filming with your Pocket 3. Next, I love the fact that the microphone is automatically compatible with your Pocket 3. I do think that it's really important to have the mic closer to your mouth. For me personally, I have noticed a considerable difference if I'm having the mic kind of far away, or I'll even sometimes utilize the handle, the case, to use it as like a mic stand, and I'm like doing like, hey, what's up, how you doing? Like, it's just different creative ways, so that way you don't have to just hold it like small like this. It just kind of makes you feel like, you know, a little special or whatever. But to me, the mic is definitely pretty good. I think it's very clear. I've recorded voiceovers with the microphone for social media and haven't run into a lot of popping or a lot of issues with it. Again, it's only been 6 months, so maybe I need to do another one in a year. And I also want to say the battery life on the mic is a lot longer than the camera, which does seem a little obvious because you're filming mostly with the camera rather than speaking on the microphone. But for me, the mic, I've left it uncharged weeks, months, and it still has almost a full battery. Maybe this is partly a con, but the camera itself does die over time even if I'm not using it. So that is something to keep in mind when you have these two pieces of equipment. Now, on another note with the battery, and this is my final pro with the camera, it is so fast for charging. I love the fact that my phone and this camera literally use the same type of charger, so I don't need to pack 15 different chargers. My phone, my iPad, my laptop, and the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 all utilize the same charger. It's a small benefit to me. Someone else may not care because maybe you have a carrying case and everything else and don't mind holding all that equipment for your camera rig. But for me personally, simple is better, especially since I have a lot of other things that I like to travel, a lot to move around with. So it's really important for me to be able to fit as few chargers as possible, fit this one device, this whole setup in my purse, and then I'm ready to go shoot whatever vlog, whatever content I want to do for the day. Now on to the negative. I've seen on other videos that these things are discussed, mostly for people who shoot more cinematically with the camera, less so for vloggers. So I do want to talk about the issues that people were mentioning from a vlogger perspective. Number one, the low lighting setting on this camera is not that good. Yeah, it is not that great. I've used it several times, and for me, it just does not get the job done. I find myself reaching for my iPhone very often when I'm shooting in low lighting, and then later transferring the footage all together when I'm editing a vlog. But if you're somebody who is going to be doing a lot of nighttime filming, a lot of late night city life, maybe even nightlife content, this camera might not be the one for you. But it is something to keep in mind as well, like what type of event are you going to that you want to bring the camera out at night? Because listen, theft is high. People do be thieving and be stealing, okay? So do you want to lose your $700 purchase? I didn't think so. It definitely does not get the job done in low light, and you may want to have a secondary backup resource at hand with low lighting shooting. Next on my list is related to the settings of the camera. It took me quite a long time to find out which settings worked really good for me. If you watch the original video that I shot up until now, you can definitely see my color correction has improved a lot. But what I learned in broadcast journalism school is that you want to do as much editing as possible in the lens, in the camera, before you ever get to editing. And so I definitely think if you're someone who is my skin tone and maybe even darker, the camera normal settings sort of wash you out. I should have mentioned that I do not film in D-Log. I film in normal mode, but it's something to keep in mind and something to consider if you are going to be buying this camera and you're a little bit worried about how the shades and the tones and the color range is going to come out, and you're somebody who might want to film in normal. There might be an additional learning curve with color correction that you want to learn. Another con is related to this wide angle lens that I happen to love so much. But the biggest issue I have with it as it turns on, as you can see here, the lens is facing the front, it kind of bulks out a little bit from the standard lens that has, and when you shut it down, it closes really clean when you don't have the lens on. But watch when I turn off the camera now, it does not clear, so it has to kind of stay poked out a little bit after the camera is off. And even when I put it in its case, it doesn't fit so cleanly anymore, and you kind of have to do some gymnastics to get it into the case. So for me personally, that is a con. I don't like the fact that it kind of tucks into a position that isn't really secure when you turn off the camera. And sometimes you're not always shooting consecutively when you're vlogging. Sometimes you want to just get quick B-roll. Maybe you're walking and you get a shot for 10 seconds, you want to turn it off, maybe get another shot for 10 seconds. Well, you don't necessarily want to have the camera out, because sometimes I worry a little bit about it breaking, but I can assure you I've dropped this camera numerous times while it's on, and there's been no damage. But it's definitely something to keep in mind if you're going to be filming using the wide angle lens. I think the lens already is pretty wide, just standard, but that wide angle lens for me just does something to the shots. It just really spices it up and maybe creates a different effect for me personally. Definitely the security of the camera and the lens is a big concern for me. So maybe hopefully in the future, this is something that DJI can consider, and maybe making the case a little bit more secure for the lens to fit while it's actually on the camera. And then last but certainly not least, it kind of is along the same angle as the wide angle lens. It is specifically with the zoom range on this camera. Y'all, this is probably the biggest con, and I did not know about it when I purchased it, even though maybe it's not a con to some, maybe it's just me specifically being nitpicky, but the zoom only goes up to 2. It doesn't go far enough. Like, if you're not front row in the show, you are not filming with this camera. You can get in the venue, film your cute shots while you're walking in, do everything like that. Watch my Bruno Mars concert vlog for that perspective. But literally, I'm so disappointed about the fact that the camera doesn't zoom any further, because the quality is pretty good, but I definitely think that the zoom just really takes away a lot. And the iPhone, it's very hard to distinguish in low lighting, to me, the iPhone from the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. These are very specific scenarios that I'm talking about when the camera has its cons. But if you're not somebody who is planning to use the camera in that way, maybe that's not an issue for you. My final question that I get asked so often, especially when I'm out and about, I'm so surprised how many people are familiar with this camera and know about it and are very interested in it. They ask me, would I go back to a standard camera rig after using this one? And for me, the answer is definitely not. I already have a Canon T7i, which I'm filming on right now, which is a pretty old model camera, but for me, I use it now mostly as stationary shootings, for streaming, and for discussing things like this video. But it's very heavy, and I loved the Canon G7X. I had it for very many years, but for me, nothing is touching the simplicity, the lightweight, and just the overall feel of using this camera. I do not feel like it matters if you're shy or if you have a big personality or how you film. To me, this camera is overall just great for my use case as a vlogger. And I wouldn't go back to a regular camera, mainly because I feel like the more stuff you add, you have to add a mic, you have to have a rig, you have to have the correct lens, and the higher quality content that you want, and especially if you're a solo vlogger like myself, it just becomes heavier and heavier and heavier, and it's just not worth it. That is definitely a big reason why I bought this camera, and I do not regret the decision at all. So I hope this video helped you out. Let me know if you have any questions in the comment section below. I would love to answer them. Again, it has been, I think it's actually been 7 months, but let's go ahead and go with 6 because it sounds nicer. It's been about 6 or 7 months since I bought this camera, and I'm definitely a big fan. I love it. And even as I've handed it off to my friends and my mom, they also like this camera too. Again, this video was not sponsored. I bought this camera from Best Buy with my own money, and I am a fan. So let me know what you think, if you're gonna buy it or if you don't like this camera after this video. Let's talk it up in the comment section, friends. And hey, if you liked it, consider subscribing so you don't miss a moment of my future content. And I'll see you next Sunday for the next video. Until then, bye.